Welcome to another segment of the Lawyer's Loft. I'm attorney Jerome Carter, managing attorney of the Carter Law Firm. I'm joined with attorney Moshe Moore and attorney Freddie Stokes. Our topic today is criminal law and the steps you need to take when stopped by the police. So let's get right into it, Freddie, and talk about some of the issues that we have to be and notify people of, to be aware of when confronted by the police, stopped at a red light, stopped for a traffic violation, and those next steps that the police then go through, especially with young kids in our community.
Absolutely. And I think that the Fourth Amendment is one of the most precious things that, or really one of the most important things that, we as citizens should have information about, especially when interacting with the police. And I'm always asked that question, what do I do when I'm pulled over by the police? And when the police ask me, can they search my car? Are they asking me that as a formality, or are they asking me that because I really can't give them permission? And I think the reality is, when they say, do I have permission to search your vehicle, you have an absolute right to say no. And in saying no, you're not saying that I have something to hide or, yes, there's something in my vehicle. What you're saying is I want to exercise my right from unreasonable search and seizure, and I have a right to tell the police no.
And I think you're right, Freddie. I think that sometimes people are so ready to prove that they're not doing something wrong, that they have nothing in their car that would warrant that suspicion. They're like, hey, look in my car. You can search my car. But you have an absolute right, first of all, to privacy. You have an absolute right to not having these unreasonable searches and seizures happening. And if you don't have anything that you've done wrong, you have nothing to prove. So, You don't have to consent to a search to your vehicle. That's not something that you have to do. What you do need to do is, and this goes beyond a legal perspective, you need to be respectful. I think that if an officer asks you a reasonable question, that you should answer within the confines of, what is your name? Where are you coming from? Those are reasonable questions. But you don't have to consent to a police officer searching your vehicle.
I agree with both of you on this issue. And when we start to talk about narrowing the focus of what steps we're advising people to take, the first answer and the only answer, I think, is to say no. In this case, no means no, and that's all it means. It don't mean guilty. Look, I tell people all the time, they're not bluffing you. It's not a bluff. When they ask permission to search your car, it's because the Constitution requires them to ask that.
Right.
Because they don't have a right to be there.
Right.
So when they're asking you, they want to look.
Right.
They want to go through your stuff. And people say, well, I have nothing to hide. Who was the last one in your vehicle?
Exactly.
When was the last time somebody else drove your vehicle? I've handled cases where they go through a car, and I'm talking about they search the entire thing. And they go and find some grain of something. And guess what? Even the smallest portion of an illegal substance is an illegal substance.
Absolutely.
Right, and beyond who was in your car last or who had your car last week, who did you buy this vehicle from?
Who did you buy the vehicle from?
So if the vehicle is used, there are situations where the previous owner has left things in the vehicle that you may be unaware of, and you set yourself up for that type of scrutiny and for that type of police investigation when you have a right to say no.
Especially when there are other individuals in the vehicle as well. I've seen where young adults really don't know the individuals who are in the car with them, and they find something on the individual after consenting to the search of the vehicle. So now, not only is this individual going to be charged, you serve or you stand the chance of being charged of that crime as well.
Let me ask this question too, because I've had this situation before. There's a young man and there's a cop, and there are no backing officers. And the officer says, do you mind if I search your vehicle, right? The boy says, yes. The officer searches his vehicle. The boy says, I didn't say you could search my vehicle. I answer yes to, do you mind? And so he searches his vehicle anyway. There's no one that can dispute either side because it's just the two of them. What is y'all's perspective, or how do you advise your clients on recording? Do you advise your clients to record these police interactions?
It's perfectly legal to record the police when they are performing duties.
Absolutely.
They can't stop you from recording. And I think that it may be a matter of a conviction or non-conviction if you then record that interaction, because those then become questions of fact for a judge and a jury. You want to make sure that you're protected by producing whatever you can to substantiate your stance.
And we're talking about criminal law and what steps you need to take when you're stopped by the police. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Absolutely. If you have been charged with a crime, call us today. We will protect your rights and fight with and for you. This, I promise. I am committed to getting results. I am committed to your defense.
All right, you're back and with the Lawyers Loft, and we're talking about criminal law area of what you should do and the advice that we're giving you about being stopped by the police. I'm still here with Attorney Moshe Moore and Attorney Freddie Stokes. Let me tell you what I think when we're telling people that no means no issues. I think we got to talk some real examples so that people can understand what it means. So part of it is being profiled, and anyone that doesn't think that police profile is they're in fantasy land. It's what happens. You know why? Because I do it, because everybody does it. It's human nature to look at somebody and make some form of assessment. Well, the police do that all the time. We call it profiling. Now, is it right to profile? No, especially in that context, that they are law enforcement officials. They should not be doing that, but it does happen. So they're going to stop somebody that's got the little Christmas tree shaped air freshener hanging over their visor. That's a thing that they look for because they feel like you're trying to mask a smell. Right. So they pull that person over to identify that little indicator, and then they're going to ask the next step. Constitutionally, if they pull you over for speeding, they should cite you for the speeding and send you on your way. Right. There should not be that next question of, can I search your vehicle? And that's what we're trying to get our potential clients and the community to understand, that they should say no.
Right.
Stop it right there, because there is no basis for that next question.
Right. So not only talking about no to you an officer searching your vehicle, but what about questions that are unrelated to the reason for the stop? How far do you allow an officer to go with questions? How far do you go with answering those questions before you get to a place where you need to be able to say, or you need to say, you know what, I need an attorney. I'm invoking my right to silence right now. You're stopped for traffic, and then they're asking you, what's in your pockets? Where does your mom live? You know, questions that have nothing to do with whether or not you were driving 10 miles per hour over 45.
And I think it's a matter of comfort, how comfortable you feel in answering those questions, and how far you really want to go with that officer. Do I have to answer to this officer where I'm going or where I'm coming from? No, here's my identification. You know, why did you stop me? Are you going to cite me? Am I free to leave? For example, once when I was in law school, I was stopped in Mountain Brook. The police officer was asking me all types of questions. Do you live here? Whose car is this? And I was very persistent in saying I am not going to answer those questions because I felt uncomfortable and I felt profiled. And I knew that I didn't have to answer those questions, so I inserted my rights not to answer them.
And that's what we got. That's the piece of it. So people always ask me my opinion about what do we need to do? How do we do that? And the first piece of it, I can't say it enough, is to say no. Say no. It's tough to do. It's tough to do. If anyone's been pulled over by the police, they approach your vehicle and they start asking questions. It's a natural conversation piece that they may start asking you. Oh, well, where are you going? You know how fast you were going? No, I don't know how fast I was going. Do you mind if I search your vehicle? Yes, I do mind. In any form, you talked about a different way that they may ask. In any form of them encroaching upon your space to look in your vehicle, to inspect, to conduct any investigation, then you have to be affirmative to say no. And if you say no and you remain consistent with saying no, any steps that they take after that are challengeable. So it becomes a matter. If it's just the officer and that person that's being searched, if that's a question, then it would be a question that would be answered.
And on the idea of saying no, what questions are there that officers may ask that people need to answer in order to assist officers in doing their jobs effectively and to make sure that people out there are obeying orders from police officers? So what questions should they answer?
It's a very good question. The answer is if it relates to what they're being stopped for. So if it's a traffic violation, how fast you were going? Perfectly fine question. What's your name to verify that you are the person that's on the ID? Thereafter, there is no other logical question that they need to ask. You're not being investigated for the cause of why you're speeding. They've drawn a legal conclusion that you were speeding, and they have cited you for it, and you should be able to go on from there. Anything else thereafter, my recommendation is to just say no, to stop the communication and tell them that they don't have it.
Right. And go ahead.
The next phase of it becomes they want to talk about, well, we'll bring the dogs out. Look, if you have such probable cause to believe that, then do it. But they're not bluffing is the point, and they're serious about it. So we're about out of time for this segment. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about, but let me just end it by saying that when stopped by the police, provide what you have to when you ask to search. The answer is no. You've been watching The Lawyer's Loft. I'm attorney Jerome Carter, and I'm joined with
Moshe Moore.
Freddie Stokes.
We hope that you will listen to us and follow the advice. Just say no.